Welcome, syncretists, patrons, lovers of truth, and friends. So today's subject, it will be how to see everything through the eyes of astrology. So that's quite a topic to handle. A lot of people see things through the eyes of numerology. They see patterns with numbers. And so everything to them has a number value. Other people see things through the eyes of, say, music. Everything is musical. They see the universe as music. So today, though, we're going to be seeing everything through the eyes of astrology. Now, essentially, what does astrology mean? Because we know it's a very stigmatized word. In the churches, it's forbidden. In the universities and in academia, it's ridiculed. And yet the institutions that ridicule it use it secretly. So astrology essentially means the logos or the language of astrology. And what is astros? What is it? What is an astro? Well, it's a star. It's light. Essentially, it's light. So astrology is the science of light. Or the science of electromagnetism. Or the science of waves, light waves, electromagnetic sound waves. They are all essentially from the same source and different modalities or expressions of the same one force, magnetism. And so this chart behind me, this chart here is ancient. Astrology is said to be the most ancient of all the sciences. Now, I'm not seeing any chats. Can someone say something in the chat there if I'm live? I don't even know whether I'm live. It seems like I'm not. So I don't want to be wasting my time. If I'm not, let's make sure this is going to everyone. Public, yep. All right. So there's no one in the chat. Well, let me see if it sounds good. All right. I've got word from someone that I'm sounding good. Okay. All right. So in the East, astrology is called Jyotish. Jyotish. And that simply means the science of light. So we see it again in the East. And in the West, clearly, astronomy and astrology are simply the science of light and light waves. So, how important are the astros? Well, it turns out that every one of us is a star. And the chart behind me shows what kind of stars we are. We are youngsters, sisters, slicksters, spinsters, superstar, master, movie star, rock star, hipster, minister, magister, jokester, molester, seamster, roadster, songster, rhymester, barrister, minister, pastor, monster, mobster, gangster, fraudster, jester, trickster, prankster, slickster, and disaster. Did we mention imposter? Each one of us is one of those stars, you see. And this is the science of understanding what is in your nature, how you are constituted electromagnetically. Okay, so all right. It's interesting. I am getting messages that I'm live, but I'm not seeing any messages in the chat. So, but that's fine. I'm live, which is good. I'm not wasting my time. All right. So, when you look at this the first time, this astrological wheel, it's like walking into the cockpit of a 747, right? And only the pilot and the co-pilot really know what all those instruments mean, right? So to introduce this to someone can be daunting, but if you know what you're talking about, you can make it very simple. And essentially what's going on here is just two things: how the land interacts with the sky. So this is the sky god, Father Sky. Let's just be mythological now, and let's not be too concerned about what words we use. All right? And it's turning clockwise, always. Every day, 24 hours. Every day, all the signs. There's Gemini rising right now. Takes 2 hours for a sign to rise on average. So it's a 24-hour clock. And this is the Earth here. This is called the line of the Earth, the horizon, and also the line of truth. This line here, it never moves. It goes from the AC to the DC. Now, AC is for ascendant, where the signs ascend. You see they're going up, right? And descendant simply means where the signs go down. So there's the moon in Taurus. The moon is now setting. Well, I've got all these planets in their right order. The sun is in Aries. It's the 1st of April. So the sun is in 10 degrees Aries. And it's about 2 o'clock. So that's the sky right now. Leo is rising right now. So if you want to see this on your smartphone, you can show people this on your smartphone quite easily. All you need is a smart app like Skyview. All right. So when you hold it vertically, there it is. All right, can you see that orange line? I'll have to get this. All right, can you see that orange line there? All right, whether you can see that or not, every Sky app that you download to check what the constellations are, what their names are, and everything like that, it always has that line in the middle. And that's that line there, the horizon. It's always in the middle of the screen. Okay, so you can show people this. Now, my computer is facing west. Okay? So you're going to be able to see, maybe if I turn that big screen off. That's better. You're going to see another line called the ecliptic, which goes up that way, because I'm facing west. So what sign is that? Cancer. There you go. Cancer is setting. There you go. So in that direction is the west. I just showed you. Let's have a look at that again. What's that? That's no, that was Capricorn. Is this set right? Let me just check this, guys. That was Capricorn. And that's Aquarius. And that's on that side. Okay, so this is not... okay. Well, this is my old phone anyway. As you can see, it's... my new phone is in the workshop. As you can see, it's totally smashed, and it's an iPhone 10. But it's not calibrated. It's showing that Capricorn is setting. So it's, I haven't calibrated, and I haven't got the time to do that now because I'm in the middle of explaining what this is. So, but I just showed you that it's easy to find this line. It's always in the middle of your phone. And it's always easy to find the ecliptic. This is the ecliptic, and it runs through the 12 segments of the ecliptic, and behind them are the 12 constellations. So the ecliptic is the most important thing to be watching, because when you're standing here on the Earth, in order to see the ecliptic and the sun and Venus, you have to face, if you're in the north, you have to face south. South is over there. So when I go out when I go out on my deck out there, I go out and in the morning, the sun is rising to my left. And then the sun sets over there in the west. But for me to see that arc of the sun, I have to face south. Now, this is the enigma with astrology, that the east is on this side, the west is on this side, the south is on top. So this line as well is very important as well, because it goes from the IC. Let's see if I can get them both in. Yeah, the IC, the Imam Coelum, to the MC. Now that's the north. So do you remember this at school? North is always on top, right? Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. That's what I was taught in kindergarten. Always go clockwise. Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. Is this correct or is that correct? Why is that upside down? Well, they're both correct. Because if you're facing north, if you're in the southern hemisphere and you're facing north, then you'll see the ecliptic. And I know that because I grew up in the southern hemisphere in Australia, and I remember every morning that east was to my right and west was over that way. So I would face north, just like this. I would face north. East was that way, just like here. West was that way. And south was behind me. So astrology has it like this. South is on top. The east, of course, where the sun, where's the sun? There's the sun. Okay, so in the morning, the sun rises over here. This is the eastern point of the earth. So the sun rises, there you go, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Here is 8 o'clock, here is 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Here is midday. 2 o'clock, that's the sun. 4 o'clock, sunset. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. So that's interesting. Having the skies upside down, which it isn't, we'll get to that in a minute, enables us now to have a perfect 24-hour clock. The sky is the 24-hour clock. And these are the cardinal points, the cross. Hence why I'm wearing a cross today. And this, regardless of what you think this is, it's way more than what you think and what you know that it is. This is the symbol of everything. This is the symbol of the science of understanding waves. So we have midday, midnight, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. And you're standing here, let's say in Mexico where I am right now, and I have to face Argentina. I've got to go south. I've got to look south. Otherwise, I will not see any of this. I won't, because you can't see any of this. You can never see this. You always only see this. During the day, you only see the sun. You don't see the stars. But at night, when nighttime comes around, when the sun is down here, you can see all these stars. Tonight, you will see Scorpio. You will see Sagittarius. At midnight, you will see Libra right on top of you tonight. Okay, so at 10 o'clock tonight, you'll see Sagittarius rising in the east, then Capricorn, but you can start at sunset. Go out at sunset, you'll see Libra rising, and then it follows suit. And that's a 24-hour clock. Now, it's important to note that the planets inside the 18-degree wide belt of the zodiac, the ecliptic, they are going counterclockwise along the ecliptic. So yearly, the planets go counterclockwise, all of them, except for the nodes, the lunar nodes. They always retrogress. So the sun, it's the 1st of April today. We know it has to be at 10 degrees Aries. 1st of April, 10 degrees Aries. Tomorrow, the sun will be 1 degree this way. And then in 20 days, it will be in Taurus. So, and the moon also, tomorrow the moon will be in Gemini, because the moon travels 13 degrees every day. The sun only 1 degree every day. But they're all going this way, even though the sky is turning clockwise every day. So let's explain now why the South is on top. This is the most important thing before we progress, because all we have here so far is the Earth and the sky. That's it. That's what you're looking at. The Earth, which is horizontal, and the sky, which has an arch. And all you see, wherever you are on the Earth, is that part of the sky. Whether it's the nighttime or the daytime, but that's all you can see. You'll never see what's behind you, or what people say is under the Earth. All right, but we'll get to that. But everyone understands that you can only see half of the sky at any given time, wherever you are. You can't see all of the sky, depending on the declination or the latitude. But that's not a point. How do we get from this to that? Well, let's have a look at some models. I'm going to be using 3 models. to explain this. So that's the globe Earth model. This is the azimuthal equidistant stationary flat Earth model. And this is the transverse Mercator projection model. So I'm going to use three models to explain how it's only your perspective that makes makes it upside down. So there's the equator of the globe Earth. Cancer is always at the top, and Capricorn is always in the south. Right? So that's correct. It's perfect. Because supposedly the Earth is turning counterclockwise in the globe model. Therefore, east is what is rising first. If the Earth is turning this way, then the east is where the sun rises, and then and it sets in the west. So that's perfect. But that is perfect only if you're looking north. See, now what happens? Well, I should do it this way. I'll just leave it as it is. Maybe I'll use the bigger one. Now what happens though, if you're in the northern hemisphere and you're looking towards the south, well, the east is still over here, but you, the observer, are going to see it to your left, rising. And you're going to see the west to your right, setting. The north will be behind you, and the south is where you will be looking. So you see, astrology, when you look at that wheel here, you're looking southward. Astrology is unidirectional. Astrology will never be looking from the south to the north. You'll never see a chart that has the north on top, because astrology is north pole centered. The energy is coming from the North Pole, and we'll see how all that works in a minute. And it goes in one direction. This is why someone who's born in the sign of Aries in the southern hemisphere, even though it's autumn, see, right now it's spring, Aries, 1st of April. And there's blossom in the trees. But in Australia, it's autumn. And I was born in Aries in Australia. So some people make the argument that I should be Libran, the sign of autumn. No. Astrology is unidirectional. The reason I'm still an Aries is because the sun is not in Libra, it's in Aries. Regardless of where I am on the earth, if the sun is in Aries, then everything is in Aries. Regardless of the flip over of the season in the southern hemisphere, it doesn't change the fact that the sun is in the 30 degrees of the ecliptic of Aries. That's why astrology is unidirectional. Now let's try this is my favorite map, the one that I mostly use in all my presentations. So, and that's called the Universal Mercator Transverse Projection Map. And it's the same thing, as you can see. So if you're looking from Australia, down here in Capricorn, you're going to see the sun rising in the east on your right and setting in the west. It's simple. On your left. This is your right, this is your left. Right, and north, and you have to face north if you're going to see the ecliptic. This is, well, let's put the ecliptic in there, shall we? Okay, now we have the ecliptic. So, and here is the solstice of June the 21st. Here is the solstice of December 21st. And these are the two equinoxes. So this is Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So we never have to move this. We never have to change this at all. Both perspectives are correct. This line here represents the equator, and there's the equator. So we'll put that on there. Now, if I'm in Australia in the south, I have to face north if I want to see the sun rise to my right and set to my left. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're over here in Sweden, well, you have to face south and the sun will rise to your left because you're over here. The sun will rise to your left and set to your right. And that is the only way that astrology is set, from north to south. Now, as far as I know, I have never ever seen the north to be on top at the MC, never. So whether or not the Egyptians did, it is not known. Of all the ancient astrological books that I've read, I've never seen the north at the MC. It's always been the south. Now, we all know that one of the Greek philosophers, Pythagoras or Solon or Thales, went down to Egypt, and the Egyptians said to them, we have records of this event occurring 4 times, where the sun rises in the west and sets in the east for 12,000 years. Every 12,000 years, the Egyptian priests told these Greek philosophers that the sun does not always rise in the east. Now, I don't know about this because I'm not 13,000 years old or whatever. And it has been said by various different cultures as well, not just the Egyptians. I'm only quoting the Egyptians because they have a lot of clout when it comes to, well, I mean, they can prove that they knew a lot with their amazing architecture. So before we go on to this now, I want to explain how it works on the flat Earth map. So on that's the North Pole. That's the Arctic Circle, and that's the Tropic of Cancer, the Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn, and that's the Antarctic ice wall. Okay, so the equator is in the middle. It's 24,000 miles. That equator is 24,000 miles. That's what they say is the circumference of the Earth, 24,000 miles. Yeah, because they're measuring it at the equator. But when you transfer it over to the flat Earth map, that means that that line there is 24,000 miles. Okay, in circumference. So obviously this is the southern hemisphere and this is the northern hemisphere. So again, same thing. When I was in Australia, the sun would rise to my right and set to the west, to the left. But you guys over here in America, Northern America, in Canada, you can't face the North Pole if you want to see the sun. You have to face south. Otherwise, you will never see the sun. You have to be facing south if you're in the northern hemisphere. So this is how astrology is set up. The MC, the south, is on top. The east is to your left, and the west is to your right. So the Tropic of Capricorn is here. It's not Cancer. Okay, so we must understand. Now, this model is the perfect electromagnetic model because this is a magnet. And in the center of the magnet is where the magnetism comes from, and here is where the gravitation goes to. That's why it's unidirectional. Astrology is always going like this, radially. The North Pole, this is called Mount Meru. And on top of Mount Meru in the Hindu system is where Brahma, just under the Polaris, there's Polaris, then there's this big mountain in the north, and it's a magnetic mountain. And that mountain is what projects the sun and the moon and the planets. It is the projector of the projected. And that's why astrology is unidirectional. And along here, there are 24 hours. And those are the 24 elders that stand around the throne of God. The throne of God is the north. So basically, you can just get rid of the E, and you have throne and north. And the 24 hours Astrology, remember, is always going like this. It goes one way. But when it hits the equator, it flips over. In here is where the zodiac belt is in the sky. We're looking at the Earth here from on top, okay? So this red line here flips over the seasons. But it matters not, because if the sun is in Aries, then everything is in Aries. Everything. Simple. So, oh, by the way, there's a lot more to this. Remember, Brahma sits on top of Mount Meru. Well, Brahma in the Jewish Hebrew system is Abram. And remember, he went to sacrifice his son on Mount Moriah. So Brahma on top of Mount Meru, and Abraham just grab that A, switch it over, and Abraham stands on Mount Moriah. Now, here's an interesting thing. Your spinal column in Sanskrit is called Merudanda. Meru, your spinal column, Merudanda. Mount Meru, Mount Moriah, the magnetic mountain. Have you ever wondered why there are no more expeditions to the North Pole? If you look up, oh, okay. I don't know how I deleted that, but I was, dang. Expeditions to the North Pole. Okay. Look up in Wikipedia, list of Arctic expeditions. I counted 237 expeditions. Since the 1500s, right up until about 2016, I think it was the last expedition, a Hungarian landed his parachute or something right on the North Pole. Why don't we have any pictures of that? 237 expeditions to the North Pole, and all of a sudden, there are no more. Oh, we used to go to the moon. That was, yeah, we had all the technology back then, but now we don't. We can't do it now. So what's going on with the North Pole? You see, the whole secret of the whole system of astrology and electromagnetism, guys, is you have to know where you live. And you have to know what this wheel is, which most astrologers do not. They haven't got a clue what that wheel is. Not the faintest clue at all. The faintest. In fact, many astrologers have come to me to ask me, why is the South the MC? I don't get it. Mm-hmm. And you're charging people to read their charts? So you see, in your spinal column, the middle part's called the lumbar. Yeah, lumbar means tree. Mm-hmm. The meridunda, the tree, the Yggdrasil tree. This is what the Nordics called the Yggdrasil tree. It's a mountain. And that's why it's a no-fly zone. Of course it's a no-fly zone. Of course you can't go and... I mean, I remember when I was a little boy, I used to have encyclopedias and I would see all the photos. In fact, when you go to that list, you can see the photos. List of Arctic expeditions. You will see 237 of them. And then when you click on photo images, let me actually share my screen so you can have a laugh right now. All right. I wish I had someone telling me whether they can see my screen. Okay. So there is chat in YouTube. Well, I don't see it. So anyway, no, you got to share. I've got to share my screen. Share screen. All right. Have a look at this, guys. Look at this list of Arctic expeditions from the 1500s. They all went to the North Pole. All these guys. There's 200 of them. But there ain't any more. They stopped. Something happened. Everyone's distracted by Antarctica, but I think we should be asking questions about the Arctic Circle. Look at this. I remember seeing these pictures. Look, I've seen all these pictures. Here we go. Here we go. We found, look, we went there with dogs and sleds. Here we are, North Pole. List Arctic expeditions. There we go. Why doesn't Elon Musk park his space car on the North Pole and get some cameras there? Why don't we even have cameras there at the North Pole? Because this is all bullshit, guys. This is all the story they're painting to you. These guys are nowhere near the North Pole. You cannot go there. In fact, do you know how many times people have said if you have any metal on your ship, you will be drawn to that magnetic mountain and you will perish. Now let's have a look at the last one. 2019 Mosaic expedition under the direction of Alfred. 300 scientists from 20 nations on board the German ice maker to collect data about the ice. Okay, no. Polar Road. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Look at this. In the year 2000, Ukrainian parachute expedition to the North Pole. Where's the photographs? I mean, this happened at the turn of the century. The Ukrainians, they parachuted an expedition to the North Pole. I want to see those parachutes. I want to see the photos. Where are the photos? Okay, guys, you get what I'm saying, don't you? Know where you live, and you will understand the science of astrology. So let's proceed. So what I might do, I might start this again. Now, so far, all we've touched on is astronomy. We still haven't even started with astrology. This is all astronomical. So what we're going to do now is we're going to learn how to build the sky, the heavens, based on the geography of the Earth. So I'm gonna make this my favorite map, the transverse map. I'm going to make it bigger, and basically that's just about all I want to achieve today, because you have to know how the Earth relates to the sky, because essentially that's what's happening every day. Every day we see, between the Earth and the sky, we see constant movement. And that means something. That translates into many, many different dynamics, energies, potentialities, etc. What's happening in the sky, because all of the luminaries are different, and how they react with the Earth is pretty obvious. Everyone knows this. When the sun rises, it gets warm, right? When the sun goes down, it gets cold. So we already know that the planets are affecting us. We know what the moon does. Oh yeah, the full moon brings out all the loonies. All the crimes happen on the full moon. Police stations are full. Police sirens on the streets on the full moon. No one sleeps on the full moon. The parasites are out. You can't sleep. Hospitals are full of emergencies because of car accidents on the full moon. And to think that people know this, everyone knows this, everyone, and yet the cognitive dissonance to say that astrology can't be anything is just astounding. It's incomprehensible and unforgivable. All right, so this is how we build the heavens, guys, and this is what you'll be taught in. And by the way, and this map is the map that I've been using for 15 years now. I've never used any other map. And people always ask, well, why do you have Aries going up when in astrology Aries is going down the other way? Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So if the signs are going counterclockwise, they ask me, why are you putting them clockwise? Well, again, This is where a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. This is where you need complete knowledge, not partial or second-hand knowledge, folks. And that's what I do in my presentations. You get direct, complete, comprehensive, exhaustive knowledge so that you know what you're doing. Typical map, no fly zone for some reason, just can't seem to get an aeroplane up there. And the 24 hours of the 24 elders, or the 24 time zones, at the equator there are 24 time zones. They are the 24 elders that stand around the throne of God in the book of Revelation. Here is the ecliptic, guys. So we see there it's starting in Pisces. It should start in Aries. The reason they're doing this is for what they call precession of the equinoxes. But I'm going to show you that what you've been taught to be precession of the equinoxes is not exactly how it works. Okay? All right, but that's for the future. That's for part 5, 6, 7, which will be in the private, only to patrons. This is for the public. This is an introduction for the public, just to see that astrology is just another science like numerology and language and music. It's an art, it's a science. Just like music is an art and a science, so is this. And this is just a wave. It's just an electromagnetic wave. That's all you're looking at. Everything is waves. So you'll notice that Aries has the highest position. Aries is the highest sign in declination. They've kind of got it a little bit wrong here. That Aries should be right on top, right there. Aries. And then Libra is about 15 degrees declination, so way lower than Aries. But they are the two equinox signs. So you see how the ecliptic is a wave. So if we basically you see Cancer's on top, and then Capricorn is down towards the bottom of the wave. Okay. Now this is all the 88 constellations in the sky in a transverse map. Remember, the map is not the geography. It's not the terrain, I should say. It's a map. So it doesn't matter what map you use. It really doesn't matter. So there you go, the ecliptic. Now you see how Ophiuchus has poked his toe into the 18-degree wide belt of the zodiac, and that's why one man called Steve Schmidt in the 70s decided that Ophiuchus should be the 13th sign of the zodiac. One man, Steve Schmidt. Just look it up. Put in astrology and Ophiuchus, those two words, in your browser, and you'll see in the first paragraph, you'll see that there was a buffoon who had too much time on his hand to suggest that all the ancient cultures for millions of years are wrong. But Mr. Schmidt, he wants Ophiuchus to be a 13th sign. And you've got all these buffoons who are talking about, oh, there should be 13 signs. Because Ophiuchus is now, he's got his foot's on the ecliptic. There it is. You can see the green. There it is. Oh, he's jumped over the ecliptic, so we should give him a sign, right? That's not how it works, sweethearts. The signs of the zodiac are on the ecliptic. They are not the constellations. Please, even you competent astrologers, before you open your mouth and make an idiot of yourself, the signs of the zodiac are 30 degrees long around a 360-degree ecliptic, and they are nowhere else. They are not the constellations, sweethearts. Yeah, keep drinking, your demon spirits. Yeah. One day you will be shamed for teaching such a blasphemy that it's actually the constellations that are the signs. No, the signs are on the ecliptic. This is the ecliptic, and each sign is 30 degrees long. Please watch the video that I posted last week on Patreon. It's not for the public, where I explained and showed the buffoonery of such a system, that astrologers don't know that the signs of the zodiac are on the ecliptic and that they are not the constellations, hence sidereal astrology. This is why we call this tropical astrology, because the tropical points, they never change. Midday is always midday. It's spring now. That's because the equinox happened 10 days ago. That never changes. In sidereal astrology, supposedly, the sun drops back 1 degree every 72 years. Well, that means every day it must be slipping minutes and seconds. Because remember, there are 360 degrees, but every degree has 60 minutes and every minute has 60 seconds. So in that foolish system of Satan, every day they have to add the hundreds of seconds of slippage that is happening every day. Every day they have to change. Every single day they have to keep up with the slippage of the precession. Whereas tropical astrology, it's fixed. We know that the 21st of March is the equinox, always has been, always will. We know that the 21st of June is the summer solstice, it always has been, and it always will. We know that the 23rd of September is the autumnal equinox, it always has been, and it always will. We know that the 21st of December is the winter solstice, it always has been, and it always will. And those 4 tropical points, you see, that's a tropic. That's a tropic. That's the equator. So you've got equinox, solstice, equinox, solstice. That's what astrology is based on. Waves. It's not based on the stars and the constellations, all you drunkard and demon-possessed astrologers, people who call yourselves astrologers. Shame on you. It's a disgrace. So I'll explain now why I do this the correct way. First of all, when we look up the Masonic Royal Arch, and you can do that yourself right now. I'm going to share my screen. There it is there. As you can see, this is the secret. Aries, March the 21st. Aries. Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. Beauty, March the 21st. Strength, June the 21st. The sun is in the mid-heaven. summer. And then over here, we have wisdom when the sun sets, the autumn, the leaves dying, contemplation. Let's see another one. Gee, man, come on. Bit short on, here's another one. Okay, there's the Royal Arch. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Libra. Sometimes they add Libra, but it's not necessary. And then you see the 7 stars here: Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and Sun. And there's the sun and there's the moon. And there's the 4 signs, the fixed signs of the zodiac: Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio. Now, there are some better ones, astrological. All right, well, this is different. This has got it the right way around. Aries, beauty. Taurus, Gemini, summer solstice, strength. Leo, Virgo, Libra, wisdom, autumnal equinox. The Royal Arch of Heaven. So that's all I'm doing, guys. I'm just going to do the Royal Arch of Heaven. And besides that, I'm not just basing it on the Royal Arch of the Freemasons. I'm basing it on all of the sciences. In fact, I'm going to base it on this geographic map. So what do we find on this geographic map? Well, if you look closely, at the start of the sine wave here, you will see the symbol for Aries. Can you see that? Oh yeah, right there, Aries. That is Aries. See over here, that's Taurus. Yeah, there's Gemini. And then what does this say? The Tropic of Cancer. That's the equator. And then below here we have Tropic of Capricorn. So I've shown you the Masonic Royal Arch of Heaven, which is Egyptian, which is ancient, which is everywhere. I've shown you geographically how they used to do it. They used to show the equator always on every map, in the middle, always. And then you will see a sine wave called the ecliptic. And that's what you do when you're looking in your smartphone app. Let me see if this one's a better one, Night Sky. You can show people how to understand astrology in 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. In 5 minutes you can show this is how astrology works. No, they want me to sign up. See that line there? That's that line there. And everywhere you go, you turn that 360 degrees and the horizon will always be level with your eyes as long as the phone is completely vertical. You will always see that line there, the line of truth, the line of the earth, the horizon, in the middle of your screen. And then when you go to the east, you see the planets that are rising. And when you go to the west, you see the planets that are setting. And that's a 2-minute introduction to astrology. And if you don't understand that, you need to clean your ears out, because it's simple, really simple. So let's begin, shall we? Okay, so we have the equator, we have the Tropic of Cancer, and we have the Tropic of Capricorn. And we start over here, go up, that's the summer. The solstice, that's Cancer here. So spring and summer, and then we go down to the winter. And we have the fall and the winter. You see, the fall starts in Libra, at the scales of judgment. The sun has to fall, and it goes through a nasty sign called Scorpio, and then it gets shot in the foot by Sagittarius. And this is where Christmas happens, where the sun gets crucified on the cross. This is the cross, guys. So this is how we build the heavens. We extrapolate the heavens from the earth, because the board is the earth, but this ecliptic is not. Here is the equator, and the ecliptic is not directly on top of the equator. It's spread out. Shouldn't the ecliptic be on the equator? Well, if the ecliptic was on the equator, we would have a 1-season year, and it would be spring all year long. And it is said in the mythologies that when Saturn was the ruler in the Golden Age, there was only 1 season. And then Jupiter castrated Saturn and created the 4 seasons. So it's quite possible that this natural wave is really unnatural, to be so spread apart and to have so much contrasting seasons. Freezing winters and roasting summers. It's quite possible that, yes, it's natural, but it's unnatural in that it's too extreme. Because in the Golden Age, if we only had 1 season, that means that the ecliptic was directly above the equator. Directly. So let's put this together, and I'm going to follow that map that I just showed you. So we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Well, so the argument is, well, that's going the wrong way. And that's true. But here's the trick. What happens when we bring it around? Now we have Libra over here, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So now, but this is going the right way. You see? This half is going the right way. The signs are going the right way. They're going So yeah, Libra, Scorpio. So Scorpio follows Libra. Sagittarius follows Scorpio. Capricorn, Sagittarius. So that's going the right way, but this is going the wrong way. Well, it's easily fixed. Just use your common sense, guys. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, at the Tropic of Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And now we have this going the right way. According to that. So there's Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, right? It doesn't go the other way around. It only goes, the signs go counterclockwise, right? So there it is, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So now we've got it right. So this is the correct way. But see, now this half is wrong and that half is wrong. So it's not wrong. Nothing is wrong. I'm just describing it in such a manner. So here we've got the wrong way. And here we've got the correct way. Well, this is where you come to the point where you explain, now that you've built the heavens from the geography that you're standing on, and you understand how the tropics work, you always want to be looking at the tropics. This is what you need to see. You need to see what's between Cancer and Capricorn at all times, because that's where the ecliptic is. And your eye should always be on the ecliptic, and you should be an ecliptic scientist. The most important word in all of science is the ecliptic. I've been saying this since decades. The ecliptic is the most important thing to master, to know, and to understand. It is the wave of all waves. So what we do is you come to the point where you say, all you do is flip this over. Just flip it over. So now Aries is here, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and it goes that way. So it's translatable either way. And what you do now is you go from here to sweet little old here. So now, just to prove the point to you about astrology being I guess prejudiced to south facing, hence that's the Tropic of Capricorn on top and the Tropic of Cancer is down here. That's why when you do the houses, see, when we come to the houses, these are the 12, these never move. They never move, okay? The first house is always here, and it corresponds to Aries. Second house, Taurus, I am, I have. Gemini, communication. Cancer, so you see the Tropic of Cancer is down here. Because this is how you see the sky every night, whoever you are that lives in the Northern Hemisphere. So to people living in the Northern Hemisphere, this makes complete sense if you're not brain damaged. This is completely exactly what you see in anyone in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, so here is my chart in Australia, and as you will see, the MC on top is the south, and I have Gemini in my MC. Well, here's the same chart in Japan on the 24th of March 1963, and you'll see that the MC still has Gemini. And the AC is where Virgo, Leo are rising. There's a difference in rising sign, but just disregard that for now because there's reasons for that. But you will see that the east is here. Now this is in Australia, in the southern hemisphere. This is in the northern hemisphere, and it's still south facing. So if you're looking down the sights of a shotgun, like the crosshairs, you're facing south always. Wherever you are, whether you come from Australia, whether you come from Iceland, your chart will always be facing the south. Always. Oh, and by the way, the other place where I get my where I start Aries over here and go up to Cancer from this side is from the oldest astrology wheel that we have, the Dendera stone. Yeah. Aries. The east. Libra. The west. But what do they have here? Do they have the south or the north? The north. You see? It's exactly the same as what I do in every single presentation I have ever done. I have never done it the other way around. And the reason is because it's so much clever to flip that over than to flip this. If you're going to grab this circle, to flip it over is more complicated than just flipping this side over. That's why the Dendera stone right there. Now, here's another thing that I'm going to debunk, because there are people who say, oh, you were born in Australia. You're a Libran, Santos. It was autumn. No, I'm Aries, because the sun from the 21st of March to the 21st of April is in Aries. Always will be, always has been, and never will change. So regardless of me being born down here, the sun was there in Aries, and it made me an Arian. I am nothing like a Libran. Nothing at all. If I were Libran, I wouldn't have this long Aries head, long skinny head. My son is Libran, and his head is completely, perfectly spherical. Perfectly spherical. Libran heads. They're all round, perfect, round, perfect, round heads. Arians, long, skinny heads, like martial warriors. I mean, there's no Libra in me, right? So, but another thing to debunk is you hear a lot of these astrologers, I even see it in their books. They write books about this and say, oh, Libra was introduced by the Greeks 2,000 years ago. Just to make astrology seem like, it's something you can play with. You can change it. You can put a fucus in there. You can take him out. You can change the structure that has always been and always will be, which you can't because there's nothing new under the sun. Well, if the Dendera stone has been aged at 4,500 years, which is very conservative, it's much older than that, and the Greeks introduced Libra 2,000 years ago, well, what is it doing right there in the Dendera stone? There's the scales right there. Libra, there it is right there, Libra. What did the Greeks introduce? The clever Greeks, they introduced Libra 2,500 years after the Egyptians already were Librans. You see how much, pardon the expression, how much bullshit you have to get past before you even begin to teach how science really works, the science of electromagnetics. It's an uphill battle because people can't win. They've been taught bullshit. When I see that in books of astrologers, the Greeks introduced. How did they introduce it, sweetheart? It's been around in all the ancient stones, in the Celtic stones, in the Hebrew stones, in Palestine, in Babylon. I just showed you the Dendera stone, the most popular and ancient of all the zodiac wheels. It's got Libra in there. So do you see how much you need to go to the right place to get the right knowledge, guys? Because you'll be a competent astrologer one day, but you'll be preaching bullshit that the Greeks introduced Libra 2,000 years ago, and you'll be an unwitting liar. Remember, this is a very, very serious and sacred science. Astrology is not for the fools. Remember, J.P. Morgan said, millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do. And believe you me, by the time we do the 7 parts, this is part 1, you're going to know, if you want to, you're going to know how to make a lot of money with astrology. Now, I've never used it to make money. Ever, not once. Because I've never been into this materialism religion. But if I wanted to in a year, I would be a multimillionaire. Here's a couple of pointers. The billionaires, they watch the moon. Moon is money, not the sun. There are certain signs, like when the sun is in Taurus, when you buy up, buy. And then when it's in Cancer, you sell, okay? And Libra. But primarily to make money, if that's what you want to do, because this is not good and this is not evil. It's like numbers, Pythagoras spat on the ground every time one of his disciples said the word 2. Don't mention that number. Pythagoras, the genius, didn't like the number 2. It's not literal hate for the number 2. It's symbolic hate because of its power of division. It divides. The number 1 unifies. So if you want to make money because you're greedy, well, then you can use this because that's your disposition. You are greedy. But if you just want to use this for good, that's all I'm going to be teaching. So I won't be teaching you how to make money, but I'll be giving you some pointers on how they do it. Always at the new moon, for the first week, this is when you invest. That's when moisture, that's when money generates. And when you sell is after the full moon, right? But that's very, very, very basic. There's a lot of other factors to work out as well. For instance, which sign is the new moon in? If it's in a non-money-making sign, like, say, the 5th house, Leo, then it's not going to be a big investment. You want a Taurus, you want a Gemini, you want Aquarius, Capricorn. Anyway, but I'm not going there. I just want to finish now with the wheel of all wheels. And by the way, guys, I didn't do the ecliptic on the flat Earth, but this is how it works. Okay? That's how it works on the flat Earth. So Mount Meru, Arctic Circle, Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Capricorn, Antarctica. So you see how the 2 equinoxes touch the equator, and then the ecliptic hits the Tropic of Cancer in summer, and it hits the Tropic of Capricorn in winter. Now, this is going to go over the heads of the beginners, but for all you astrologers who believe that the Earth is actually moving when it's stationary, for all you astrologers, here's a question for you. Why is Aries a fast and crooked rising sign, whereas Libra is a slow and straight rising sign? In other words, and this proves the true model of the Earth, because if we were living on a globe, there wouldn't be fast rising signs and slow rising signs. They would all rise 2 hours each. They would all take 2 hours to rise. Whereas you know how long Aries takes to rise? When Aries rises, the 30 degrees of Aries rise in 1 hour and 20 minutes. But when Libra rises, Libra takes 2 hours and 40 minutes. Remember I said that Aries is the highest declined sign of all the signs? In fact, it's 0 declination and 0 degrees right ascension. Well, so when you look at Aries rising, it rises crooked. It rises like this. And it takes 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's fast. It's called fast and crooked. That's Aries. Now Libra rises straight up and slow. The 30 degrees of Libra takes 2 hours and 40 minutes, that's called slow and straight. Have a think about that, sweethearts, because that absolutely disqualifies the globe Earth, because everything would be equal. Everything. And it also shows that the constellations are local, because if they were millions and millions and millions of miles away, there wouldn't be so much refraction on the horizon to cause the difference in the rising. So I know this is way beyond beginners, but I just thought I'd introduce that because this is for the public, because I want the astrologers out there who are watching this, who don't even know where they're living, what they're living on. They believe in one man, Nicholas Copernicus, who made the Earth move in the year 1542. And before that, it was stationary and flat forever. And guess what? All astrology is geocentric. Yeah, none of it is heliocentric. It doesn't exist. And if the Earth were flying around, like Mars and the Sun flying in the ether, well, where is it? I see Neptune, I see Libra, the North Node, Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, South Node, Mars, Jupiter, Moon, Uranus, the Sun, and I don't see the Earth flying around. Yeah, sweethearts, because this is the Earth and this is the sky. And because astrology is north to south facing, we now have a 24-hour clock. So someone born today, right now, it's nearing 4 o'clock. So this is 12, 1, 2, 3. So let's put it here. Whoever is born right now has a Virgo rising. They are Aries with a Virgo rising, and their moon is probably still in Taurus right now. In 2 hours, Libra will be rising, but they'll still be Aries. And then in another 2 hours, the rising sign will be Scorpio, etc. That's why it's so important to know the time you were born, because you need to know the rising sign. This point here is where everything begins. This is the most important point of the chart. The MC is the second, and that's the third, and that's the fourth. But this is the most important. Here is the most important point of the chart. Everything begins from here. That's why I always start with Aries here and Aries here going that way. I always keep it to this side. The east, the ascendant, the rising sign. Some people call it the rising sign. What's your rising sign? Well, that's because it's rising. It's ascending. It's your ascending sign. Same word. But because it connects to the Earth, it actually becomes your Earth sign. This is why it's important to know the rising sign, because there's a sun sign, there's the moon sign. What about your Earth sign? Well, it's the rising sign. The rising sign is your body, your personality, your ego, your flesh, your bones. Mine is Leo. I mean, if you can't see the feline, cat-like movements that I have, you're not looking. Because my body is Leo. Whereas my spirit is Aries. So there you go. That's the line of the Earth. The Earth's not around here. There's no Earth here flying in space. It's stationary. And there's my rising sign. That is your Earth sign. That's your body. And it's pretty scary to have a Leo rising. Scorpio is even scarier. Aries is scary. Gemini is friendly. And why is that? Because it's your rising sign. It's what people see when they first meet you. They don't know your spirit. They don't know your moon, your emotions. They can read it on your face. They can tell certain characteristics that you will have. But what they see, without knowing that they're seeing it, is your rising sign. It's your mask. My mask is the lion, right? So if you've got a Taurus rising, Taurus is interesting. You'll notice Taurus rising people, they're very, very, very grounded. They're really, really grounded because their bodies, it's their body, and the bull is grounded, immovable. And it also is another scary rising sign, because imagine, being face to face with a bull. The energy of the person that is emanating from the person from their rising sign is interacting with yours. It's interacting with your rising sign. So if you're a fish, a Pisces rising, you're just a little fish, right? Or you could be a shark, a killer whale or something. But a Leo or a Taurus rising is going to be, there's going to be a clash. It may not be a clash, because if you diffuse the energy by being diplomatic and friendly and gregarious, you can diffuse any energy. You can change the dynamics of the energy, but you'll know it when you start asking people, what's your rising sign, when you first meet them. Because then you'll get to know how your Leo rising sign is interacting with their Libran rising sign, right? Some signs are opposite. Some signs are of a different element, and those elements can confuse you and confound you. And sometimes you just don't gel with people because they've got so much water in their chart. Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. Other times people have got too much fire. And it's really hard to be in their presence because their vibration is disturbing to you. It's not that they're a bad person. If you don't like someone, that's not going to change because it's astrological. You will only like people that are astrologically compatible to you, period. It's the same with numbers. Number one people, as I am, everything in my numerology is always one. They love other one peoples. They get along with their fellow number, one. And the same with sevens. They love sevens, So if we can see the relationship with just numbers, well, this is more than numbers. This is numbers, letters, words, waves, light, sound, electromagnetism. This is the whole teaching of everything and how everything works. This is the projector. Here is the theatre, the screen, the projector screen, and all of that and all of those planets are telling the story, the gospel of the Word of God. This is the wheel of God. This is Jesus and his 12 disciples. This is Jason and his 12 Argonauts. This is Hercules and his 12 labors. This is Samson and his 12. This is Israel and his 12 tribes. There's no escaping it. There's only one science, the science of electromagnetic waves. And all waves are divided into 12, and the signs of the zodiac are on the ecliptic. Okay, so I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover for the introduction. So don't forget to never eat soggy wheat bix. That's correct, but it's from a southern perspective. And astrology has never been like that. As far as I know, I've seen some very, very ancient Egyptian charts, and the MC's always been the south. So if it's true that, as they say in Egypt, the sun used to rise in the west and set in the east, then why don't we see the north at the MC in any ancient chart? We never do. And the reason for that is, regardless of whether the sun rises in the east or the west, the north is always in the center, Mount Meru. And the lines go out straight, radially. And the energy is driven from the north. It's projected onto the sun. And then the sun then refracts 7 parts of its white light and projects the planets, believe it or not. But everything starts from Mount Meru. It's a 24-hour clock. It's at the center of the earth. Even in the globe model, they tell you that there's a big iron magnetic ball in the middle of the earth that's rotating at a gazillion revolutions per second, right? Yeah. Well, they're referring to this. And I would say that if we're going to have a final experiment about the shape of the Earth, why don't we just forget about Antarctica and go to the North Pole, just as the 237 expeditions have done in the last 500 years, which I showed you, and you can look up. Why have they stopped? And why did that Ukrainian parachuter in the year 2000, he went to the North Pole and parachuted right onto the North Pole. Why didn't he just take a few shots? And how did he get back home? Yeah. Remember, guys, between now and next week, focus on the North Pole, focus on the true model of the Earth, and tropical astrology, which never changes. Absolutely disregards sidereal. And as we get through the series, you will see why you must shun this very, very satanic and deliberate New World Order based on the globe model. Sidereal astrology is based on the globe model. Tropical astrology, as I've proven, is based on the stationary flat Earth model. So stick with the truth, and you'll be a competent astrologer, and you will see everything through the eyes of astrology. There's nothing that is not astrological. Much love, and see you next week.